what's up? Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Fantasy Filmball, the show where we turn movies into sports and sports into something we don't talk about here. My name is Matt.
And my name is Dyl, and today we're continuing our post-Odyssey pre-fall film festival Oscar predictions. This time, dive into the acting category. So that means lead actor, lead actress, supporting actor, supporting actress. But before we can get into all of that, we want to continue to grow our connection with each and every one of you out there. One thing YouTube always tells us out there is our connection with all of you. The best way to keep that going and keep it strong is for you to drop a subscription to stay up to date with everything that we do on the channel, from awards coverage to festival reviews to film reviews and everything in between. And you can also stay up to date with our Filmball platform over on our Fantasy Filmball website, where you can also see all of your community predictions that you make over the Discord channel. The link is down in the description. We just updated to showcase what you have out there. So you'll see them on the screen now, what our community is predicting: lead actor, lead actress, supporting actor, and supporting actress. And in a few seconds, you'll kind of see where Matt and I differ from the community's picks. But as always, be sure to leave your comments down below, whether you're calling us stupid, you like one of our takes, or you're discussing between each one of you out there. We always like to read the community that we're building here on the Filmball platform. But Matt, there's been a few changes since we talked just a week ago. We have official festival lineups. We've had some more trailers, some more stills. What's really leaped off the page to you so far?
Okay, well, let's talk about the big thing, which is the Venice Film Festival lineup. Last week we talked TIFF lineup had come out. But I think after Venice has released their lineup, we have a lot more certainty about things that actually just aren't players in this year's race. For example, Cry to Heaven is one that we were waiting on Venice to release in their lineup. It's not there. Same with Joel Coen's Jack of Spades, not coming this year if it's not at the Venice Film Festival. Look to Cannes next year for those two films. And also, Neon has announced that A Place in Hell has been booted out of their Christmas Day spot into the following spring, which is very pertinent for today's video, seeing as Michelle Williams had been widely predicted as an acting frontrunner. And not only did the film miss TIFF, miss Venice, it is straight up releasing next spring, likely a Sundance or South by Southwest premiere. And aside from that, we really didn't see any of the other Netflix movies that were missing from TIFF pop up at Venice. That means stuff like Here Comes the Flood, Saturn Return, those movies. I mean, Adventures of Cliff Booth still is dated for the fall, but those movies are looking more and more likely to just not be a presence in the fall festival circuit, and likely the award season in general. If we look at Netflix's patterns, usually their awards players are the films that play at festivals. And we'll see if The Adventures of Cliff Booth can break that trend, seeing as it is not playing at any of the major film festivals. Also worth noting, not only do we have the Venice lineup, the TIFF lineup, but New York Film Festival is announcing their opening, closing, and centerpiece films. And this morning, Behemoth was announced to be the centerpiece selection. So that is a film that we had been questioning. Why is it not at Venice? Why is it not at TIFF? Well, it has a world premiere in the centerpiece selection of the New York Film Festival. Is that a great omen for the film? Maybe not. New York premieres are not always the biggest events. They're not always going on to do the biggest things, but at least we know that that film is happening this fall and it's not being pushed off. Not that it could be, because it's dated and it has a trailer released, but at least they're platforming it somewhere. Otherwise, though, Dylan, what are some things jumping out to you from the Venice lineup? I know for me, happy to see Wild Horse 9 and Ink is one that really is establishing its season dominance as it's playing Telluride, it's playing TIFF, and now, of course, Venice.
My big thing that jumps off the page to me is, of course, we know Wild Horse 9 is going to be there. We had talked previous times of the year, maybe they go with a new route for McDonough, because the last two times he came close, just didn't get over the hurdle. It looks like they're just taking the same playbook this time around. But I guess in terms of the other stuff over at Venice, like you mentioned, there's no Cry to Heaven, no Jack of Spades. Now we can feel comfortable removing them from all of our predictions. And it kind of goes to what we said in our initial Best Picture prediction bracket is like, why put faith in these movies when we don't have much reason to believe that they're going to be 2026? Why take up a slot in Best Picture, Best Director, acting, or some of the text for a film that you're like, I'm more sure than not it's not going to be this year. Those are stuff I will probably be pretty high on next year, but yeah, this year not as much. And to your point about Cliff Booth, I do think it doesn't look great. It's not at Venice. But I will say there was a report coming out, that it's not done. There was some personal delays that caused the film to be pushed back a little bit, so it makes the exclusion from festivals not ring as bad to me. Where if for like stuff we talked about last week, like with Sense and Sensibility, it not being at TIFF is more of a red flag because we don't have any of those reports coming out. And then for Behemoth going to NYFF, it is a little bit of a red flag to me, but also on the other hand, Tony Gilroy is a New York guy. It makes sense why he would want to premiere his movie at his home festival. And I would say for NYFF premieres to make Best Picture, the last two are New York guys who premiere their movies at NYFF with Josh Safdie and Martin Scorsese. And the other world premieres, you could have more asterisks against them. Would I like to see Behemoth go to Telluride to show a little bit more strength? Yeah, but I'm not going to just chuck it out of all categories just because it's a NYFF premiere.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that it's strong. It's clear that Searchlight's main player is Wild Horse 9, but the fact that it's gotten the centerpiece slot at NYFF does have, it gives me a little bit of faith in this film. I think it's likely good. It's not going to be a top 5 player, but it's strong. We know where Searchlight's horse really is. It's Wild Horse 9, but still, Behemoth being here, I don't take that as a bad sign at all.
I think the other funny thing about the Venice lineup is the fact that when they were announcing the movies, they said, "Oh, prime time! It's weird, it's crazy," but we weren't sure if we wanted the movie unless Robert Pattinson could be there. And I get people like, "Oh my gosh, it's playing Venice! It's got to be real. Pattinson's going to get his acting nomination. If not for the Batman, if not for the Odyssey, if not for Dune, it's going to be for prime time." But I mean, like, if they're boldly saying in their press conference, unless Pattinson's there, we don't want to program it, that doesn't read great to me.
Now, I will say that there's a pattern that year after year, 2 Venice competition films make the Best Picture lineup. This year, obviously, Wild Horse 9. But after that, it's a big question. Do we go primetime? No, don't go primetime. Don't fucking do it. Don't do it. I'm warning you. Or do we go with something like Ink, which has now shown up, like I said, Telluride, TIFF, Venice, likely going to be New York. I'd be very surprised if Ink's not. I think like Ink is positioning itself as Netflix's second contender. They've got La Bola Negra, and I think that Ink is their second one. So right now, I'm all in. The Ink train is going choo choo for me, man. I'm all ahead, leaving the station. But yeah, I mean, I know you have some questions about whether Danny Boyle can do it, but man, this is the dude who made Slumdog Millionaire. This is the dude who made 127 Hours. I think it's completely possible that he can make another contender. I mean, Ink is based on a very, very well-received play, Tony Award-winning play. I think that it can happen. I think that we can pull this off. I think Danny Boyle might be the right fit for this movie, and hopefully this can do better than Steve Jobs, which Steve Jobs absolutely should have been all over the place that season.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned 127 Hours. You mentioned Slumdog Millionaire. Those were both over 16 years ago. Steve Jobs was a little bit more recent. And that's kind of my more hesitation with Boyle, is I feel like
11 years ago.
He's someone on that same trajectory or that same wavelength as someone like Paul Greengrass or someone like Ridley Scott, or now I'm forgetting his name, Robert Zemeckis. He's someone like them who always tries to do something cool and a little bit crazy, and then oftentimes just doesn't hit the highs of what they used to do and what they used to be known for. And I'm not saying that I think Ink's going to be bad or a train wreck or anything. It's just we've seen this play out before, and I'm not saying you, but I've seen some other people be like, "Oh, I want Ink to happen because I love Danny Boyle." And I think you had better reasons for saying, "Oh, it's a source material. Oh, it's going to these festivals." But then I've seen other people be like, "Oh, I just want Boyle to be in the race again." And I feel like that's the same thing that leads people astray year after year with not just filmmakers, but also actors, which we saw this past week with A Place in Hell being sent to next year. People saying, "Oh, I really want Michelle Williams to happen," not looking at the movie itself or how it's being set up to be released, or even the studio being Neon. I just feel like Neon has a very clear way of sending their contenders, and A Place in Hell was never really on that wavelength. But I think that unlike A Place in Hell, Ink is set up for success. Now it's just time to see, does Danny Boyle actually deliver?
Well, here's the thing. You cannot put Danny Boyle in the same camp as Ridley Scott. You can't put him in the same camp as Robert Zemeckis or Ridley Scott, because those are people who year after year are pumping out failed Oscar bait, things that feel like callbacks to what they used to do. Yes, Danny Boyle has not been in the race since Steve Jobs 2015. It's been 11 years. But that said, the films that he's made since then, none of them have been even remotely the type of movies that ever would be in the Oscar race. Think of it this way. Since 2015, when he made Steve Jobs, which was probably orbiting around that 10 to 15 spot, he's made a sequel to Train Spotting, which that's never going to be a contender in any way. A sequel to, no, it's like a legacy movie. That was for the fans. He made Yesterday, which was like a very light rom-com about the Beatles. That was never going to be a thing ever. And he made 28 years later. So he's made 3 movies since Steve Jobs, and none of them have been a prestige drama in any way. Whereas you look at Zemeckis, you look at Ridley Scott, year after year, they're chasing the glory that they had with like Gladiator or Forrest Gump. They're doing stuff that's in the realm of what they used to make. Danny Boyle, Ink is the first time he's made something serious, something like Slumdog Millionaire or 127 Hours or Steve Jobs in the last 10 years. So this is, I actually think it's a better angle. It's a return to the spotlight. It's a return to what he does best. And I feel like, honestly, I wouldn't have been as confident in this if it didn't have the festival selections. The festival selections feel very, very glaringly apparent that people are liking this movie. If it's being platformed by all these festivals, I mean, there's very few films that do the trifecta or the big 3 festivals. Usually the films that make the rounds and stop at all of those fests, those are the films to keep an eye on. Those are the big contenders.
Well, to kick off our acting predictions here today, do you want to start over in lead actor or lead actress?
Oh, let's do lead actress, man, just because we have the big shift around in the race, being that Michelle Williams is no longer there. And what do we do in her absence? So I'd love to hear from you. What are you going to do in the absence of, not that you've ever had Michelle Williams, but what's your thought at this point?
Honestly, I think Best Actress has been a complete wasteland all season, and especially now, too, because, yes, we've seen performances like Indy Navarrete and Obsession. We all know people really like the performance. We know people really love that movie and want to see it happen. And if this category was more stacked, maybe I could sit here and make an argument for why maybe she could miss. But we're lacking that competition at the moment. And because we know there's so much hype behind this performance, behind this movie, and we just saw what happened last year with Amy Madigan and Weapons, I've kind of done a 180 from where I was last time we did these acting predictions. And Indy is currently now in my number 1 spot for Best Actress because now I've added Obsession to Picture after our conversation last time. It's taking the debut slot over an original screenplay. So I have a nice little package for it right now. Do I feel the utmost confidence about that? Not really. I think if you put Indy head to head with some of our Oscar winners for lead actors of the last few years, I would always lean more towards those people, but I'm kind of missing what the competition would be at this moment. We could look to the A24 girlies, Julianne Moore, the debut. I kind of said my piece on this before, but we really just have to see how this film kind of translates throughout the fall festival season. It's got a great start. It's going to go to Telluride, go to TIFF. It's a great launching pad. Now we just have to see where the reception for Moore lands, if it's truly in that contention for her to win that second best lead actress Oscar, or if this kind of goes more towards maybe like the Rose Byrne hype of last year, where she gets a lot of critics' love, but doesn't really translate into industry awards. Or maybe it's something like Emma Stone and Begonia even too, to make another comparison to last year, where like people acknowledge great performance, but we've seen you do better in the past. And also from the A24 camp, we have Olivia Wilde for The Invite. I understand this is more of a comedy type performance, and she's part of a larger ensemble that's all receiving great hype and everyone has a chance to shine. But this film, I just feel like is so incredibly strong right now. Wilde's having a banner year, and given how weak this category is, I think she can absolutely find her way into a nomination. So those 3 women, I feel great about. The real question for me kind of comes down to, what do I do with slots 4 and 5?
Well, I'm with you on Indy Navarrete as number 1. I feel like She has the sauce, and also she has the buzz. And a huge thing in the best actress category, which we need to acknowledge, is they love going for young new performers. The best actress category loves rewarding a fresh face. Think Mikey Madison, think Jennifer Lawrence back in 2012. They love when they get a chance to reward the new thing in town. They love it. And Indy Navarrete is like a superstar in the making. She's about to get every single role for the next 10 years. And so, yeah, to me, Indy Navarrete has what it takes. The only thing against her, in my opinion, is that it's a horror performance. As we've seen in the past, horror performances can struggle in the lead categories. I think we have to go back to maybe Jodie Foster and Kathy Bates in the 90s to get horror performances winning.
Last year we had two, one in lead, one in supporting.
Yes, but I mean specifically, I didn't say I said lead, specifically lead actress. And I think Michael B. Jordan in Sinners, I wouldn't count the same way because he plays very much a hero for the majority of the movie. Yes, he does get to be a vampire for a chunk of it, but for the most part, he's not the horror movie monster. Amy Madigan is a great comparison. That said, that is a veteran actress over in the supporting category. I don't see this as a big thing because Demi Moore came very, very close to winning, and I don't think it was being in a horror movie that took her down. I think it was just Mikey Madison was in a stronger film. And when we look at it and we look at the field of nominees here, Obsession looks just about as strong as any other film. Um, and Indy is, she's got the buzz, she's got the hype, she's got the goodwill. We know that they have no hesitation of rewarding young performers here. I think that I'm not going to say anything certain, but right now she's got as good a chance as anyone. And I agree with you. I think Julianne Moore is the runner up at the moment. She's the one in the race. Now, the big thing for Julianne Moore is that she does have a look at this legendary actress who is so incredible. We could give her a second Oscar here. She could join the ranks of the multi-Oscar winners clubs. Like, she could be Frances McDormand. And I think that's enticing. It's enticing to put someone up on a pedestal like that. And Julianne Moore deserves it. She's one of those generational performers who she puts out so much great work that a lot of it just doesn't fit to be awarded. And so when she does something where she really, really shines and you can award it, you're also awarding her body of work and the things that have been great that maybe just haven't had a chance to be awarded. So I feel like I can't compare her to Rose Byrne because Rose Byrne doesn't have that career narrative, whereas Julianne Moore definitely does. She has a career worthy of multiple Oscars. And on the point of Olivia Wilde, I've got her floating outside my top 5. I know you're all in on this movie. I don't see the hype lasting to the end of the year. I think that she can float around here. She might be able to get it. I think that she can get that Golden Globe nomination. She is a highlight of the film, and I think giving her an acting nomination is a great way to recognize her body of work this year as a director, as an actor, because she's also in Behemoth, and she's also in another thing, right? What else is Olivia Wilde in?
The Greg Araki, I Want Your Sex.
I Want Your Sex. Yes. So she's in multiple things this year. I have her on the outside just because I don't see the invite holding the buzz from summer all the way until the Oscars. Like, this is a specialty hit. I still maintain I think this is the Big Sick. I don't think this is going to be a big overall contender, but I think it's going to be one that, if you're into this type of movie, you're going to remember it in January, February, but otherwise it's not going to have the buzz at that time.
I get some of your points, but like I said before, this category just feels a little bit empty to me with strong contenders, and that's why I find myself leaning towards just a strong film theory that we've seen play out year after year, especially as of late. I think that works in favor of someone like Wilde, who maybe would be a borderline person in other years, but this year, if I have the movie up in the Best Picture conversation, if people are having it in the adapted screenplay nom, or even other actors coming along, her film would then be stronger than some of the other people. That's why I also would kind of say about Fiore. You can talk a little bit more about this, but I think Renata Reinsva can kind of find her way into this lineup due to contenders falling or moving out to other years. She's a recognizable name. She's in a movie that people seem to at least respond to. Now you can say, is that responding overtly positive or negative, but it at least is making the conversation around her performance. She's a former nominee, and maybe she just does enough. But like I said, you can kind of talk more about her performance at large. But in terms of the rest of the category, I'm just confused for this fifth slot because, like we've mentioned numerous times with this episode, A Place in Hell was something people were really, really hyping up, but I just didn't really get it. I don't know if that was following like the twins' initial prognostication, but like it didn't follow the path for what neon contenders typically do. So maybe that's something that like Virginia Efira could pop up and be a possible nomination for all of a sudden. But we've really struggled to see international contenders get the acting nominations as of late if their films were not attached to Best Picture nominees, unless they were like a household name like Penelope
And look,
Cruz.
all of a sudden still could be.
It could be
all
as
of
well.
a sudden still could
It could be. It could be it. And that's why I would place her higher than someone like, just thinking in my head, looking down my list here, someone like Emily Blunt. I just don't feel like Disclosure Day is going to be in the conversation come December, come January. I know that Blunt is a big name in the industry. I know that she probably has that SAG nomination in her corner that she gets almost every time she's in a movie, at least is in the awards conversation. But like, I just feel like when we get down later to the year, the stronger films are going to rise up above the rest. And I think that favors someone like Renata, that favors someone like Olivia Wilde, and that may hurt someone like Blunt, that may hurt someone like both of Sandra Hüller's performances. And that leaves us with like Mikey Madsen and The Social Reckoning. And based off that trailer, I would say maybe she doesn't have that much to do, but it's only a trailer. Who knows? Sorkin knows how to get his actors a nomination. So maybe there's a little bit more to that character overall. But at this point, I'm going to lean to people I feel that there's buzz with, or that we've seen something really jump off the page. And that's why, kind of funny enough, the person I'm putting in my fifth slot here is someone that we just got a trailer for, actually. And it's all banking on that TIFF. I can knock on people for saying, hey, this movie's going to place at TIFF. Well, I get to do it too. Misty Green, that trailer looks great. It looks like all the actors are going to have
fucking kidding. Oh my
all
god.
These actors
dude.
are going to have juice.
Let it go.
Daniel Kaluuya in that film looks like he is going to get multiple precursors throughout the season. And if he is in the conversation, if this film is in the conversation of people watching it because like, oh, Daniel Kaluuya is so great, why can't Rosalind Elazar come along, whether that's the Golden Globe, whether that is the SAG or the CCA? So like that's who I have in my fifth now. But I'm taking a swing because no one else jumps off the page to me at this moment.
Look, I appreciate the swing, but let it go, man. Let it go.
I don't know how you can watch that trailer and not be like, that trailer looks great. The actors have so much to do there. It's a commentary on Hollywood. It's going to be funny. It's going to have stuff that's going to resonate with some people, and it's a fresh face. And like you just said, talking about indie, obviously it's not a one-to-one comparison, but this category does like rewarding fresh faces.
I would be so shocked if you had called Misty Green that early. I don't buy it whatsoever. But I won't get onto that because, that she wouldn't even be in my top 15, top 20. Just nowhere. But I'll go back to some of the other things you said. After Michelle Williams dropped out, I put Renata Reinsva up to my number 3. I feel like the open spot there for me, man, this is a performance that there's not much to it. She doesn't have a ton to do. Her role, Renata plays like a trad wife character who sort of just like stays silent most of the time. She sort of like plays the role of the like conservative wife. She doesn't have a lot of moments because of that, because she sort of just stays on the sidelines for the most part. She's good in the role, but it's not a role that gives her a lot of room to run But that said, if we're saying that Fjord is a big Best Picture contender, if it's a big contender in other categories, if it's getting director, if it's getting screenplay, this is a possible place to award it. And in a dead field, she can do it. You know, Best Actor is a lot more stacked, and I think Sebastian Stan could make it. But I feel like he might be edged out by the competition. No such thing exists for Renata in the Best Actress category. So to me, even though I don't think it's a very strong role, I don't think she's going to be in win contention at all. I have no problem seeing her getting in here. And I do have Emily Blunt in. I think that Disclosure Day and The Invite both suffer from the same problem, which is that no one is going to be thinking of those movies at the end of the year. It's going to be very, very niche groups of people that are thinking about them and really no one else. That said, I think that Emily Blunt's performance is going to be more remembered than Olivia Wilde's performance, just because Emily Blunt is so showy and flashy in this movie. She is doing every single thing that you need to do to get that sort of recognition. She is just like giving her all the entire time. I hated Disclosure Day, and her performance is going to remain one of my top 5 the entire year. She's fantastic in this role. And so to me, when I have a battle of the 2 movies that I think will be forgotten, I am going to lean to the performance that's showier with the movie star that I think I can see getting a lot of precursors. And look, man, I agree with what you said about Virginia Fira, that international performances can struggle if their films are not in the Best Picture race. And I think all of a sudden we could see Neon make a priority shift things around and get this in. I mean, this time last year, we didn't expect The Secret Agent to be much of anything, but they gave it that push. And I think that all of a sudden has the critical love, and it has a release date in the fall that says to me, Neon is at least going to give it a bit of a push. And look, last year they almost got 3 Best Picture nominees. I don't think it's too much of a leap to say that it's possible they could have 2 films in the conversation with Fjord and All of a Sudden. And also because they pushed out Place in Hell, that's a little bit more attention that they can give to those international films. So yeah, that's my top 5. I agree with you, Sandra Hüller on the outside for both films. I feel like the fact that neither of these movies is in the TIFF special presentations lineup, likely both will end up being in the centerpiece lineup. That to me is not a show of a lot of support for these movies. You know, these are not priorities for MUBI. And to me, that says Sandra Hüller is not being pushed all that much. And since these are both international performances, like you said, if they don't have the film push behind them, I struggle to see them being a big thing in these categories. The other people I want to bring up, like Mikey Madison, I'm not thinking about too much because her role kind of looks like a nothing burger. Ruth Madeley in Being Human. I don't have a lot of faith in Being Human. It looks sort of like a Rustin type film that we have play at TIFF, but Rustin, being this sort of very typical biopic with a political slant to it, ended up getting Coleman Domingo some acting love. And I see the same thing for Ruth Madeley possibly being true here. This movie will not be a big across the board contender, but if she really shines in that lead role of Judy Human, then she could absolutely make a run for it. Also, there are so many really authentically cast performances in Being Human. I could see this being a casting contender, seeing as they really cast with disability in mind and being true to representation and authentically of disability. I feel like casting and Best Actress is a possible package that we could get for that film. Otherwise, though, man, we gotta take a look at Penelope Cruz in Bunker. We don't know much about Bunker at this point. Florian Zeller is coming off of The Sun, not a great thing to be coming off of. But Penelope Cruz is having a year, and maybe, just maybe, that could help her in Bunker if that film really ends up shining or being a contender in any way. There's also Cynthia Erivo in Prima Facie. I don't buy it. I don't buy Prima Facie. Feels fake to me. But look, there is the whole narrative of her being 1 award away from an EGOT. But I don't buy the movie. It's directed by the person who did Nanny McPhee Returns. it doesn't feel like a big contender to me. And then I just want to give a shout out to Mason Reeves and Josephine. I don't think it's happening. Child performances are really, really hard to get in here unless you are strong, strong, strong in Best Picture. And even then, it's still a challenge. Even then, Gabriel Labelle missed for The Fabelmans. Mason Reeves gives possibly the best child performance I've seen in my entire life. The question is just, can Josephine make a run after it plays Telluride and TIFF? I mean, we don't even know if it's doing Telluride. It might not do Telluride, but can it make a run after doing TIFF? And that's something that we're going to have to see. But this point, safe to keep her out. But if that film ends up being the big contender that it seemed like it might be at Sundance, I would keep her on your horizons.
Now let's jump over to the lead actor category. And this is actually one I want to jump into our community predictions a little bit, because we overwhelmingly have Tom Cruise at a 61 win percent at a 95% nom ratio. Malkovich is at a 20% with a 91% for the nom. And then Matt Damon's at a 9% for the win and 86% for the nom. But in my eyes, this kind of feels like a 33 type percent for the win at the moment.
No. No. I disagree, because I actually think that you're missing Andrew Scott.
My thing with Elsinore is I need to see it come to fruition. This just feels like the solo actor thing that we see every year. People like I was saying for Michelle Williams before, we love Andrew Scott. He got shafted for Strangers. He has to win this time around. He should have been in for Blue Moon last year. And I want to see it come. I want to see what its package can be, because even from the rumors of the test screenings, it's people saying Andrew Scott is great, and they don't talk about anything else in the movie.
Yeah, but still, like, there are times when people win on that. Like that. Think The Whale.
They do, but they don't win when there's so much competition.
Yes, but I feel like you should have him in the running at the very least. You shouldn't say 33 John Malkovich, 33 Cruise, 33 Damon, and no one else has a chance.
I mean, there's 1% left. I'll give that 1% to Andrew Scott.
And Andrew Scott has the goodwill. We've heard the reports, and it's not just reports on the test screenings. It's the fact that Focus Features snapped it up so fast after those test screenings. They have faith in this film. They pushed their schedule around. This is getting their prime November spot. This is coming out where Hamnet came out last year. They have faith in this movie. And it's not just all of those things. It's also what the role is. This is a classic Oscar bait role. Andrew Scott is playing a Shakespearean actor who is dying from AIDS and playing Hamlet as his last role before he possibly passes away. This is baity to the max. This is the type of performance that anyone could have this role, and I'd go, we should take that seriously. Has nothing to do with Andrew Scott was snubbed for it has nothing to do with All of Us Strangers. Has everything to do with the buzz, with the type of role, and with the release strategy that Focus is showing for this. So to me, I think he's number 2. I think he's ahead of Tom Cruise, personally, because I maintain, I say this every single time we meet, Tom Cruise is going to annoy the shit out of people. He's going to annoy the shit out of people, and he is going to be the proclaimed early front runner that we say all year, he's winning. His film comes out, we go, oh, wrap it up, he's winning. And then he's just so annoying about it for the next 5 months after his movie premieres. And then people at the end of the day are sick of him, and we go, what happened? Why is he not front runner anymore? And it's because he's annoying. It is Timothée Chalamet, Marty Supreme, all over again, but crank that shit up. Tom Cruise is going to be everywhere, and it's going to be annoying. So to me, I don't have him as being a win contender at this point. He is the front runner right now, but front runner fatigue is a real thing when you're annoying.
Well, then who do you have as your winner?
John Malkovich, my guy.
There you go. I guess for me, on the flip side, like I said before, I think that this category is becoming so stacked. And like, after seeing the trailer for Digger, we know Tom Cruise, like you just mentioned, is going to pull out all the stops so he can finally win his Academy Award for acting. The real question is on top of what you said, is he going to be too annoying? But is this movie going to be too weird or too divisive for people to latch on? As you said, his main competition could be John Malkovich in Wild Horse 9, but from reports, it seems like he should be in the other category, a supporting actor. Will that hurt him in the fight and ding his chances for the win? And then, in my opinion, I think the third person in this race is Odysseus himself. Matt Damon trying to defy the gods to finally win his acting Oscar. We know he has the screenwriting one, but to finally get one for his acting. And I said this last time we talked about acting, not comparing him for the win, but in the chance of a nomination to Michael B. Jordan in Sinners last year, saying that they had the movie star charisma in that leading performance in a film that is just so strong that powers them throughout the nomination season, where they show up everywhere and they just get nominated. And last year I said, oh, Michael B. Jordan is number 2 to Tim because he's going to win the Globe. Then he lost the Globe to Wagner Moore in The Secret Agent. I backed off that. But this year, I don't want to make the same mistake twice. I think behind the love and the admiration for the Odyssey at large, how we're seeing both critics and audiences in the industry come to bat for Matt Damon, for some of the other members of this cast as well. I think the hype is already here for these people to get into the season. I'm not saying Matt Damon's going to sweep. I think there is a great chance this year that we could see a supporting actor type thing where it's between Damon and Andrew Scott at the Globe drama and Cruise and Malkovich at the comedy. And then someone else wins the Critics' Choice, someone else wins SAG, someone else wins BAFTA. And we could have a precursor circuit very similar to last year's supporting actor, where it was almost a different person everywhere. And I guess lead actor kind of had that as well. But like, I don't know. I just feel like these three performances have the juice based off of stuff that we know so far. And then, like you said, Andrew Scott can join that conversation as well, depending on how the reception is. And like you said, it has the great release date from Focus Features coming down to the season. My question then comes down to is if Andrew Scott jumps into the 5, who is the one to leave? Because I think you would say Pedro Pascal, but I would kind of be on the other end saying, what about Ryan Gosling? Because he's amazing in Project Hail Mary. He's so funny. He is that movie. But if Project Hail Mary is going to continue to go on the downwards trajectory a little bit with films like The Odyssey and Dune kind of eating into some of its technical wins or nominations, we've seen Gosling give these type of performances before. Would he kind of be boxed out a little bit to allow someone like Andrew Scott to get into the lineup, or another biopic of like Jafar Jackson, or into a film that's super strong like Sebastian Stan, or even the SBC push of John Turturro in The Last Living Pickpocket in New York? There's just so many people on the outskirts where I feel great about my top 5, but now with Andrew Scott in the race, someone probably has to drop off.
I wouldn't have a question of that because, like, for me, Andrew Scott's so far in. I will also just say one big thing for Andrew Scott is we've got 3 career narratives in the Best Actor lineup right now. Malkovich, Cruise, Damon. All 3 are legends in acting that do not have acting Oscars at this point. And so all 3 of them have that same narrative. And I think because all 3 of them have that same narrative, they're going to cannibalize each other a little bit. Andrew Scott does not have a career narrative. He just has the film and he just has the performance. And ultimately, I think John Malkovich wins because he's going to shut the hell up. He's not going to be annoying. And the film is going to have strength that I don't see Digger having. And yeah, Damon's in there too. For sure. He has the performance strength, he has the film strength, and he has the career narrative. What I don't know if he has is like the meat of the role, just because like it is still at its core an action hero performance, which we don't see many of those win. Like Michael B. Jordan was the exception, not the rule. And so just the type of performance that this is, it's a little bit less of like an Oscar winning type performance than Malkovich or Cruise, which is why I have Damon behind them. But I think he's very strongly in the top 5. I am on the fence. I might drop Ryan Gosling at this point. I'm getting close to. I love him in the movie. I think that the film is not declining the way that some people are saying. Like, we're in the summertime. It's that time of year where people go, no one's talking about that movie anymore. Yeah, no shit, no one's talking about Project Hail Mary anymore. It's not in theaters anymore. And there's like a bunch of other summer blockbusters that have come out. That does not necessarily mean that that film will not be talked about when awards start back up. The film had such buzz. That buzz does not go away. Just because it's not currently being talked about does not mean that it is declining in any way. That said, I am really, really tempted to remove Ryan Gosling to put in Jack O'Connell for Ink. Because I have such strong belief in Ink, and this is the type of movie that if it's a player, acting is coming along. Now, the only reason why I don't have Jack O'Connell in is you look at the Tony nominations for Ink. That film, that play, when it went to Broadway and it went to the Tonys, the character that Jack O'Connell is playing did not get a nomination in lead actor. However, the character that Guy Pearce is playing, Rupert Murdoch, did win Best Supporting Actor at the Tonys. Best Featured Actor is what they call it. And so to me, I don't think Jack O'Connell needs to happen for Ink to be a thing, but I think Guy Pearce does. So when we talk about Best Supporting Actor, that'll be reflected in my lineup. But that's all to say, I am tempted to remove Ryan Gosling for Jack O'Connell. Pedro Pascal, as you mentioned, for Behemoth, I don't think he needs to happen. I think that he has a lot of industry love as a movie star, but I don't think he has the sort of buzz and goodwill behind him that he needs an Oscar nomination right now. And maybe if the film is strong enough, he can do it. But I see this as a, 8 through 10 contender in Best Picture, not as the undeniable big sweeper movie. And if that was the case, I think he would get in. But right now, I don't see him as needing to get in. And a few others that you didn't mention, Guitarrica de la Fuente in La Bola Negra, he could go supporting, but I feel like he's going to go lead. I don't think at this moment he is going to get in because his performance is just a little bit of a smaller role. He's a co-lead with like 3 other people. Also, I don't think that Turturro for The Only Living Pickpocket in New York is SPC's contender in Best Lead Actor. I think we have to look at Javier Bardem in Bunker as SPC's possible contender. Also, just want to throw out there Jordan Firstman in Club Kid, since A24 is still pushing that one, and it would be great to see that get some acting love somewhere. Neon has less on their plate now, so Andrew Garfield in Artificial is something we should watch out for, as well Anthony Ippolito in I Play Rocky, and of course, we know that there's buzz around Robert Pattinson in Primetime. Now, do I think that he's a contender at the end of the day to get the Oscar nomination? No, I think at best he's Dwayne Johnson in The Smashing Machine, but that could lead us to a Critics' Choice nomination or a Golden Globe nomination. So worth mentioning Pattinson for that.
I do hear what you're saying about Pedro Pascal, but I just think if Behemoth is going to become a Best Picture nominee, he kind of has to come along, because at least looking from the trailer, it's all revolving around him. From the script coming online, it seems like he's going to be on screen for nearly the entire movie. Maybe this could be a scenario like last year of Train Dreams, where like Joel Edgerton was the entire movie on screen the whole time and still really misses out on the season. But then I go to some other movies, granted these are other music movies, but I think they still work because they were bottom 3 or bottom 4 in the Best Picture races that year. But that's like Bradley Cooper missing out for Maestro, or if it's Riz Ahmed missing out for Sound of Metal. Like, those are what people latch onto with those movies, is that performance. Well, you talked about Ink a little bit, and Guy Pearce as Rupert Murdoch. So let's jump over to supporting actor, because this is a category all season long I have been like, I don't know who to put at number 1. No one here sounds like a winner on paper, whether that's been from a trailer or from descriptions of characters. But I know that you now do have a new number 1.
I do have a new number 1. I previously had Sam Rockwell because I knew that he was basically the lead in the film. And I was thinking, let's Kieran Culkin it. Let's give him the win. But does Sam Rockwell need a second Oscar? Does anyone need a second Oscar? I don't know. But I feel like looking at what we have now, Ink is storming into the race. Netflix bought it. It's playing all of the major festivals. It might be the only movie this year to do all of the major festivals. Guy Pearce is in a role that won the Tony Award, and it's a biopic type role. He is playing Rupert Murdoch in the years before Fox News. So this is going to be big. He's playing a big, publicly known name. He has a career narrative to him because he's this big actor that people have loved for a very long time. And we saw that career narrative at play with The Brutalist. He did not win at the end of the day, but he was certainly in the conversation for a little bit until Kieran Culkin just stormed the entire season. But Guy Pearce was up there the entire time. And I feel like there's love around him. Let's add on to that the possible strength of this film, the confidence in this film by the distributor and by all these film festivals, and the fact that this is a biopic role of one of the most notorious political figures of recent memory. There's a lot riding in Guy Pearce's favor on this movie. Now, of course, this is a lot of people are going to go into this thinking this is the Rupert Murdoch of Fox News. This is not. This is the Rupert Murdoch of before that. This is like a prequel to what he did with Fox News. But that said, there is a lot of strength that seems to be here, a lot of things in his favor, and that's why I'm currently leaning towards Guy Pearce. I feel like if Ink is in Best Picture, a lot of that is going to have to do with the strength of his performance, and to me, that could be enough to be a season sweeper.
On top of that, even if Ink isn't the Best Picture player, we've seen Netflix be very strong at getting their actors nominations throughout the season. Last year, honestly, was probably a little bit weird considering the fact that Train Dreams was a Best Picture nominee, yet its actors struggled to get nominations. But more often than not, if they have an actor in the conversation, they're showing up at least somewhere in the season, if not going all the way to the Oscar nomination, on top of everything else that you said about this performance from its adaptation should work in its favor. On the other hand, for me, I kind of feel like doing something a little bit crazy in this category. And I know you can say, like, oh, it's dumb. You can't predict this, even though it happened last year. Like, this can't happen every single year. But there's something in my mind telling me, what if Sam Rockwell pulls a Paul Mescal and gets all the precursors, but due to the lack of people saying, hey, he's the standout of the movie, and all the attention around this performance is going to the other people inside the film, whether that is Malkovich or Mariana Di Girolamo or whoever it may be. I feel like there's a chance that Rockwell could be pushed out due to some of the other stronger, showier people in this category. You just mentioned Guy Pearce in Ink. There's also John Goodman in Digger. We've seen a trailer. He's playing a very loud, a very arrogant, a very in-your-face president. I feel like for a portion of the Academy and voting acting body, that's something that they may like and they may want to nominate. We've seen Edward Norton get raves for his performance in The Invite. We've also heard stuff about Riz Ahmed being basically second lead of Digger and having a lot of showy stuff to do inside that movie. And as I mentioned before, Misty Green, watch that trailer. Daniel Kaluuya is doing everything he needs to do. Daniel Kaluuya is one of our best actors of this time. He won an Academy Award for basically his last real movie performance. And I mean, if what that trailer shows, it's giving me those vibes of, hey, he's going to get to yell, he's going to get to cry, he's going to get to tell jokes, he's going to get to be funny. Not in the same way, but that trailer gives me the same initial vibe sort of thing of someone like Sterling K. Brown in American Fiction, where he's going to win your heart and then do something, and then you feel the emotion there, and then win you back by the end of the movie.
You know who should be in this category? Sterling K. Brown in Is God Is. I'd love to bring up Jeremy Strong in The Social Reckoning, seeing as this is another biopic role. If I just said everything I said about Guy Pearce in Ink, with this being a biopic role, I mean, we've got Jeremy Strong playing the Zuck. And I think that what we've seen in those trailers is going to be something pretty spectacular. Like, the impression is really strong, but it seems like he's doing something that is a very different take from what Jesse Eisenberg did back in 2010 in The Social Network. So that's something. I don't see Mikey Madison happening for Social Reckoning. I think Jeremy Strong is the actor that gets in for this. Also, Paul Giamatti for the debut. We know that people love Paul Giamatti. We know that this is a role that seems to be quite meaty. He seems to be yelling for a lot of it. It seems to be a big performance. Now, could this be an instance where people just want Paul Giamatti to happen so bad, the same way that they did with The Holdovers? Possibly. I think he's in for a nomination. I feel like the people saying win, taking it a little too far, I feel like. I don't know if this role has the meat for a win, but it definitely does for a nomination, in my opinion. Also, just to go to what you said about Digger, John Goodman, giving me Meryl Streep and Don't Look Up. And this is a thing. I feel like president roles don't often get the nomination the way that we think that they do. I feel like the last time we had a movie president get nominated was like Sam Rockwell in Vice. And that was very much part of it was the biopic part of it, and it was the strength of the film, and it was Sam Rockwell coming off of another win, and it was that it was like a goofy, funny impression of a guy who is very, very fun to impersonate. So the fact that it was W, I think, had a big chunk of what Sam Rockwell's Vice nomination had to do with. Movie presidents don't always lead to nominations. And I feel like John Goodman is in that camp of he's never had a nomination. We want it to happen so bad. That doesn't necessarily mean it will. And I feel like this is not the type of role that will do it. I also just want to throw out there the possibility of, and you're going to love hearing this, Dylan, John Leguizamo for the Odyssey. I know he's your standout in the Odyssey. I've seen a lot of people say that he's their standout. If this movie is if this movie is an across the board player across all of these categories, I think that he's going to get some nominations. I don't know if he's going to show up at the end of the day, but there's definitely going to be a strong chunk of people that just love the guy. You know what he gives me? He's a little bit of Benicio del Toro last year for One Battle After Another. That's what I'm feeling from the Odyssey, from John Leguizamo.
Yeah, he's someone who I really want to put in my 5, just like you just mentioned there with Jeremy Strong. I'm struggling for space, and I feel like The Social Reckoning is one that, like I keep saying, I think every time we do a prediction video, this is the movie that people online don't want to happen, that is going to happen in some lane. And I've had Jeremy Strong in all year. I took him out for Guy Pearce after Netflix acquired the movie and after it hit up all the festivals. Maybe that's the wrong choice of who to pull. Maybe I should go for Riz Ahmed. I know you'd say Daniel Kaluuya. Maybe it's even John Goodman. But like, I don't know. I feel like keeping one of those swings is a little bit more fun at this stage than going for something that I could see not work between all the people saying like, what's the point of doing this movie again? We've already nominated this character in the past. You don't look like him. You're about 20 years too old visually in the scene. So I think that it could be a lot stacking against him, but I do agree that he could also even, not even to agree, but I think he could very well be like the Eddie Redmayne in The Good Nurse that just shows up everywhere, misses BAFTA, and then misses the Oscar.
Okay, can I make an argument against Daniel Kaluuya here? Okay, your argument in Best Actress around Misty Green is that the lineup was too sparse, and you're like, fuck it, I'll take a swing. I'll put her in because the lineup looks so empty. Supporting actor is not an empty lineup. There are a lot of possibilities. There are a lot of things that you can do. Are you really taking the swing on what is at best A24's fourth?
I wouldn't say at best A24's fourth. I think there's a world where it could go higher. Right now it's fourth. But for the reverse of your Club Kid statement, if this does something at TIFF, it could then jump. And I think just going off of the trailer, what we get to see from Daniel Kaluuya's character very much feels like something the acting branch would very much like. And like we just talked about, John Goodman, Guy Pearce, Jeremy Strong, even Paul Giamatti to an extent are given the same type of performance where you're going for the same, I don't want to say voter base, but you're hitting the same strings and the same attributes of what you look for in an acting performance, where maybe Kaluuya, maybe Lig Mazzallo, maybe Norden, maybe Rockwell are doing something a little bit different. So then I think having a nice mix, because yeah, you could go Goodman, Pierce, Strong, Giamatti, and maybe let's say Domingo in for the 5. And like, oh, you have a super showy, super over the top, some biopic, some pseudo biopic type performances get into your lineup. But I think plucking some people, whatever that is, Kaluuya, even going for someone we haven't talked about yet, with
pluck out Goodman as well, man. Like, I'm telling you, movie presidents, they don't get nominations. Movie presidents don't get nominations.
I hear
John
that,
Goodman is on a streak. He's never had a nomination, and this is not going to be the movie that changes it.
I mean, I totally can buy that. I can totally see that happening, but I don't think the movie presents don't happen is a great thing, because how many movie presents do we typically have? I know you brought the Meryl Streep performance, but then right before that would have been the last one that was eligible, would have been Sam Rockwell for Vice.
I can't think of them off the top of my head, but like every year, I feel like someone tries to predict someone who's like a fake movie president. Like I even last year, people were predicting Idris Elba for House of Dynamite,
Until they saw
and
the
I mean
movie.
that film was just nothing. That
Yeah,
film was
that
just
film was
nothing.
nothing.
And
I
you're right.
think if that film was something behind the power of Netflix, he could have shown up somewhere on the circuit.
No, because here's the reason that I think movie presidents don't happen. Most of the time, it's because they are a character that doesn't have an arc. They're a character who sits behind a desk. They're the man behind a desk. They're the one who says, like, I need you to do this thing. They're the one who has the answers. They don't get a lot of performance. Like, they get to get loud and they get to make demands, but they don't get to have much of an emotional arc. So I would say right now, if you have two Digger guys in there, drop Goodman, keep Ahmed. If you really want someone from Digger, keep Ahmed. Goodman, I do not see happening based on the type of role that this is. Yes, he's going to get loud. He's going to get showy. It's not the type of role that gets awarded just based on what we've seen at this point. I have no reason to believe that he has any real emotional arc or anything. And it's not like he's the type of performer that has the stature that just needs to get a nomination for whatever he does. Riz Ahmed, on the other hand, seems to have a really big role, seems to have some emotional weight to him. If you're going to pick one of those two, pick Riz Ahmed.
And that's fair. I'm going to keep Goodman and Ahmed for now, but Digger, hopefully we'll get to see it here in the coming months. It's the end of July. This video will probably come out in August. Comes out the first week of October. So maybe mid-September, late September, we can lay eyes.
Maybe, but I'm telling you, man, I don't know. I also, again, I'm gonna keep banging the drum for Josephine if this movie becomes a contender again after its TIFF launch, after its possible Telluride launch, after maybe New York. It's possible it goes there. If this film hits all of those, it makes the rounds, it builds up some buzz. Channing Tatum, I'm telling you, man, this is a fantastic performance. It's going to have a lot of buzz. This is one of those signature movie star makes the jump to a really serious role and really shows his stuff. I don't have him in at the moment, but I could easily see him coming in and knocking out someone in my top 5. But right now, honestly, I think this is the top 5 I feel the best about at this point. Guy Pearce, Sam Rockwell, Jeremy Strong, Giamatti, Edward Norton. Feel really good about that 5.
Well, we will not feel good about our supporting actress 5 as we flip over there. I think there's a shot we may have 2, maybe 3 of the same 5 here, which I guess might be more than we had in supporting actors. So maybe we're moving up.
We might be moving up, but this is a lineup that I think has much more variables, mostly because we haven't seen as many of the contenders. I mean, it's not like we've seen supporting actor. Like most of my lineup, I haven't seen a supporting actor, but we've got trailers for most of them. The difference in supporting actress is like, I don't know what to do about some of these roles, man. I don't know what to do. So at the moment, I have Penelope Cruz versus Anne Hathaway as the top 2. Now, Penelope Cruz and Anne Hathaway have the same thing going against them. They just aren't in the movie that much, which it's supporting actress. That's kind of the point of it. They make the most of the limited screen time that they both have. Penelope Cruz, however, steals the show and seems to be the person that, when I talk to anyone, it seems like people remember the Penelope Cruz scene as the highlight of La Bola Negra. Also, she is like, that's a movie that the cast is primarily unknowns. Penelope Cruz and Glenn Close are the two reasons that this film kind of gets a little bit of extra boost. It's a movie that has them as cameos, but they're doing enough in it to really give the film credibility, especially when the rest of the cast is primarily unknowns. She is the Jamie Lee Curtis of this film's Everything Ever All at Once, in the sense that she comes in and kind of is that movie star that will boost the film a little bit because she'll be talking about it all year long. Penelope Cruz, hell of a year. The Invite, Bunker, and this. She has a chance to be awarded for a body of work, and this film is so strong. She's such a highlight in it. Then there's Anne Hathaway, who I think is legitimately spectacular in the Odyssey. She is my standout in that movie. With that said, Christopher Nolan's problems in writing women still are a problem here. Her character is not given all that much to do. She makes the most of it. And look, it's a chance for both Cruise and Hathaway to win a second Oscar. I just currently think that La Bola Negra is a little bit stronger than the Odyssey. People are going to disagree with me on that. But I also think that Penelope Cruz has a little bit more to do in that role, which is why I'm leaning that direction. But I'm assuming you have Hathaway as your winner.
Hath a sweep at my number one. People even considering should she go lead. That's insane. This category is, in my opinion, locked, signed, sealed, deliver. I don't think there is going to be an avenue. I don't think the gods could even defy the course of Anne Hathaway's second Oscar win over here in supporting actors. Because I think the biggest thing that we have here is, yes, people like yourself love Penelope Cruz in La Bola Negra. But there's also people out there who love Penelope Cruz in The Invite. And with the new rules this year, I think there's a great chance for her to be double nominated in this category and then siphon votes away from herself to allow Hathaway to sweep outright or to sweep because of that. So that's 3 of my 5 slots in this category. Then we fill out the nomination list with Mariana Di Girolamo in Wild Horse 9. Everything we've heard about this movie. She rivals John Malkovich for being the emotional standout in the movie. And that leaves me with a 5th slot. I don't know what to do here. Looking from some of our contemporaries here in the space, I know the twins, they went to Cannes, they love La Bola Negra, they're shouting out one of the actresses in that movie. Some of the other people in the predicting space are as well. But from you, from Arno, I know y'all aren't as high in their chances due to the lack of a name. I know the twins point to Roma as an example, but I think that's a one-time thing, which I don't know would happen again this time around. But my other options for a 5th slot also don't feel great. Because in my opinion, the other 5th slots would be like coattail type nominations. Sandra Hüller and Project Hail Mary. If Gosling's on the chopping block, it would be so weird for Hüller to get the nomination and not Ryan Gosling. And then they release Samantha Morden and The Odyssey. And I know that she is the early critics' favorite in Standout, but I just don't see it because I think the reason why that scene works so much is because of everything involved. It's not just Morden. I feel like there's a lot of people who are saying, oh, the Cersei scene's the best scene in the movie because of her performance. But I feel like it's also the practical effects. It's also the sound design. It's also the score. Everything's coming together in that scene. And I think that Morden's someone that we could see, like maybe what some people, the Benicio doubters, which I was a part of at the early parts of last season, be like, oh, she's just happy at some critic script. It's never going to happen more. But then Morden actually doesn't happen more. But then if Morden does happen, then I think Lig Mazzallo would also come over and supporting actor, and we see The Odyssey one up Sinner's stat-breaking nomination record just 1 year later.
Yeah, man, I don't see Samantha Morton. I think it's crazy that she's being shouted out as like the standout of the movie when she's there for 3 minutes, and like I don't think she had a lot to do in the movie.
Hey,
She's
good.
Good.
That's what some people say about Cruz and La Bola Negra.
I know, but Cruz actually does have a lot to do, and she has a discussion that I think really sums up a lot of the themes of the movie. I don't feel the same about Samantha Morton, and also the fact that Anne Hathaway is already such a strong contender. I don't think we need. I don't know, man. Okay. You're so right. Sandra Hüller, Project Hail Mary feels very weird. I've got her just on the outside. I agree with you. Penelope Cruz can happen for The Invite. I don't think she does, and I think that strengthens her chances for La Bola Negra. I do agree with you. If she gets 2 nominations, then Anne Hathaway wins by default. I want to put forward 2 other possible contenders that the only thing holding me back from them is we don't know what their roles are or what they're going to be doing, or how much they'll be in it. That is Olivia Colman and Elsinore. If Andrew Scott is happening, if this movie is getting that prime focus release, if they're putting a lot of muscle behind it, they're putting their whole focusy behind it, then, it's maybe Olivia Colman. I believe she's playing a nurse in this film. I don't quite know everything about the role, but we just don't know what she's doing. We don't know what her take on this is going to be, or how important she's going to be in the grand scheme of the film. And likewise, Claire Foy in Ink. Ink seems like a big player, and it seems like this needs to be an acting player to be a big player. That said, the play that this is based on has 2 roles. 2 roles, and it's the Jack O'Connell character and the Guy Pearce character. There is no third role. Who is Claire Foy playing? What is she doing? I don't know. It's unclear. We don't know how much she's going to factor into this movie. So to me, that's why she's outside. I would love to put her in the top 5, though. I'm also just going to put out there Tao Okamoto all of a sudden. Like I keep saying, all of a sudden is going to be in the Oscar race in some way. She is spectacular in this movie. The big thing against her, she's not going to make SAG, but I think that she will make Golden Globes. She will make BAFTA. And is that enough to get Tao Okamoto the nomination? Very possibly. Supporting actress is always a little bit more thin. So to me, I think that she very, very possibly can do it. It's a great performance, and she could be a critic favorite. I also just want to shout out another person who's going to be a critic favorite, and that is Gillian Anderson from Teenage Sex and Death at Camp Miasma. This is going to be a role that gets a ton of critic love. I could see it pick up a Trifecta prize, and I could see it be very, very clearly top 5 with regional critics as well. Because, Gillian Anderson is one of those performers who is just a giant in the field, but has never really had a role where you're able to award her. And I think a lot of people will take the chance with this one. Will that translate to the Oscars? Probably not, because this movie's so fucking weird. But I think regional critics will remember, and that could give her a boost.
I agree with those first two people that you mentioned there. Tao Okamoto, if all of a sudden is a picture player, she would probably make her way into my 5 as well. And then in terms of Elsinore, I've actually heard that Billie Piper was one of the more showier or more important characters. And going to her IMDb page here, she is a 5-time BAFTA Award nominee. So depending on what role she's playing, obviously we have no clue. IMDb doesn't list a role for either Piper or for Olivia Colman, while Wikipedia at least lists Olivia Colman as his doctor. So I don't know. I feel like a doctor role may not have that much. I've read the plot description, so there will be some, but I feel like there could be more with the mysterious role of whatever Billie Piper's playing. So they're both on my outside looking in.
Yeah, that would be fantastic. Also, we talked about Sandra Hüller in Project Hail Mary. Sandra Hüller is also in Digger, but we've heard she doesn't have a ton to do in that movie.
And I guess just to shout out one more person, I have zero belief of this Oscar nomination. But we talk about trailers. You watched the Dune 3 trailer. You got some stuff there, not for a nomination, but at least maybe Chani will finally get more to do and more of a showcase.
Oh, for Zendaya?
For Zendaya. Not an Oscar nomination, but for a Filmball community prediction nomination at the end of the year for supporting actress.
If we're going that far, we might as well toss Sadie Sink in there for Spider-Man Brand New Day.
Hey, she's actually pretty good. She's pretty good. Embargo's up. Sadie Sink's good in the movie.
Anyways, though, I think that brings us to the end of this here video.
I think it does.
Oh, wait. Yeah, thank you so much for sticking with us through this hour-long recording. As always, we appreciate you being here. Make sure you drop a like, drop a subscription. Helps the channel to grow. And of course, join our Discord community if you want to be a part of the Fantasy Filmball game. More info on that coming soon. But as always, thank you so much for watching. My name's Matt.
My name's Dyl, and this has been Fantasy Filmball.